Coming to you live from the Northern Command Center of the Classic Guitar Rock podcast and media empire, it's time for the daily update. I'm Jeremy. Thanks so much for tuning in. You can comment during the broadcast. It's kind of sneaky, right? Because sometimes it's on at 9, sometimes it's on at 10, sometimes it's on at noon, sometimes it lasts 12 minutes, sometimes it's 20 minutes. So it's what's the expression? It's a crapshoot in more ways than one. But you can chime in at any time. So let's jump into the update today. The music of late country star Glen Campbell is to be celebrated with an album of posthumously created duets. It's called Glen Campbell Duets Ghost on the Canvas Sessions. It features Glen Campbell, who died in 2017, sharing the mic with the likes of Eric Clapton, Elton John, Brian Wilson, Sting, Dolly Parton. So let me talk about Glen Campbell for a minute. Glen Campbell, one of the most talented artists ever. And I didn't say country artist. One of the most talented artists ever. Do you know a great story I heard, an interview with Glen Campbell. VH1 used to be like MTV. They played music, right? There was a time when MTV played music. I mean, it hasn't for about 40 years, but there was a time when VH1 was the same. It wasn't just reality show. Don't get me started on reality shows. I've never seen a reality show that is anything but not reality, except maybe Cops. I mean, I guess that Cops was the first reality show, by the way. Don't get me, I'm already getting off track. Anyways, there's an interview with Glen Campbell. He talks about watching one of those VH1 countdown shows, the top 100 songs of the 70s. He played on about 40 of them as a studio musician. Okay. So think about this. We've got studio greats like Steve Lukather and there's lots of guys we could name that are great studio musicians. Glen Campbell was one of those guys, one of those first call studio guys. And of course, a phenomenal singer and actor, just one of the most talented performers ever, regardless of the genre. Okay. Of course, tragically, he got Alzheimer's. And there are very moving performances you can see of him after he's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and he's still performing. But they made this album, a tribute album where he's teamed up with other people, and it sounds pretty cool. Clapton says, "I've always admired Glen Campbell's guitar playing and loved his singing. I was moved recently when one of his final performances during his illness came on TV. When I was asked to sing and play with Glen on the song Jakob Dylan wrote, it all just felt right, and I'm happy to be part of it," end quote. So that'll be a very poignant piece of music to hear. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm a huge Glen Campbell fan. Glen Campbell, definitely one of those rabbit holes worth going down on YouTube. Do you ever do that? You find out, and I've done Karen Carpenter. I just go out and watch all the documentaries I can about Karen Carpenter, Glen Campbell. It's fascinating to hear the journeys of these folks. And Glen Campbell, such a talented guy, very good friends with Alice Cooper, by the way. They both lived in the Phoenix area, and they had quite a friendship. They played golf together. But Glen Campbell, phenomenally talented. So looking forward to that release. It's tour season, right? I mentioned a couple tours that are starting. Well, it's tour season coming up, right, in the next few months. Last week, or maybe it was even yesterday, I blanked on the name, Richie Kotzen. Richie Kotzen, of course, a member of Winery Dogs, incredible vocalist and guitar player. Crazy good. Well, he's going on a European tour this summer, solo tour. So that will start Yeah, it'll start. I'm looking for the date here. I can't see the dates. European tour this spring and summer. And I don't have the dates here, but watch for that. If you're in Europe this spring and summer, check out Richie Kotzen. Also, Lita Ford has announced early 2024 U.S. tour dates. You can check the dates. Well, I got the dates for it. Starts January 19th. This is old news. It already started. I'm giving you old news. It started January 19th. There was a show on the 20th, and the next one is February 3rd at Coushatta Casino Resort in Kinder, Louisiana. So if you're down that way, they don't have counties in Louisiana. Did you know that? They have parishes. They don't have counties. Weird. Okay, but yeah, she's going clear through June. There's a slew of dates. You can check her out all across the USA at casinos everywhere. Speaking of tours, there's a cool video of Sammy Hagar joining Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, and Eric Johnson on stage at their G3 concert in Scottsdale, Arizona. This is from last Friday. G3. I saw G3, I think it was in 94, 95. I think it was the first G3 with the same guys, Satriani, Vai, and Johnson in Spokane, Washington, which is where I live. It was awesome. It was awesome. Well, they had Sammy come out and sing Foxy Lady. Sammy's always ready to get out and sing for whoever. Sammy said, quote, "I've never felt more power on stage singing Foxy Lady than Friday night with the G3s. Joe Satriani, Eric Johnson, Steve Vai, with Kenny Aronoff on drums." He said, "What a rush." So that's cool. Sammy, what is he, 75, 76? Still rocking, still putting on a great show. I'm a big Sammy supporter. I think he's awesome. Here's good news. Now, I'm going to get in trouble when I say this. I think you all know how I feel about grunge. I think you all know. Not a huge grunge fan, right? Not a huge Pearl Jam fan. I've just got to say, I mean, they have a few songs that are okay, but my name's Jeremy. So I've grown up I was already grown up. For the last 40 years, I've had people singing Jeremy to me my whole life, right? I can't go anywhere without anyone singing Jeremy's Spoken. So I got that going for me. But what am I talking about? Pearl Jam is being recognized along with Ozzy Osbourne at the 2024 Clio Music Awards at Newhouse Hollywood on the 31st, which is tomorrow. So Pearl Jam is going to be receiving this award. Here's why I'm pointing it out. They're being recognized for their music, yada, 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 but also recognized for the band's impactful philanthropic work through the Vitalogy Foundation. They've raised lots of money for all kinds of different issues, that they're passionate about. And that's why I wanted to call them out. I have a lot of respect for bands, even though I'm not a big fan of their music, but I respect any artist that puts their money where their mouth is, okay? Puts their money where their mouth is. Now, Marlon, who's joining us, he comes right out and says it. Grunge blows. I mean, that's Marlon's opinion. Who am I to argue with Marlon? I don't know if I'd use that forceful language about grunge, but I will say that I respect Pearl Jam for donating $50 million. Okay. I don't know that they actually donated that much, but they're responsible for these organizations, earnings, not the word, accumulating all this money for these causes. So I just want to say good on you, Pearl Jam. I mean, I think that's awesome. They've also drawn attention to fight against diseases such as Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. And you know what? This hits home to me. I have Crohn's disease, right? So good on Pearl Jam for drawing attention to this and raising money for these causes. And I'm glad they're receiving this award. I think that's great. And it's awesome when people who have the means, wealthy celebrities, musicians, when they, excuse me, donate to these great causes. Marlon chimes in again. Could have said, grunge blows hard. LOL. Well, there you go. Tell us how you really feel, Marlon. But thank you so much for tuning in. And by the way, I don't know if you noticed this. Let me put it back on here. Marlon's icon, his picture, features one of the greatest albums ever. It's Michael Schenker Group's Assault Attack. Don't get me going on how awesome that album is. Look at that. Thanks, Marlon. Thanks for joining us and commenting on this. But he's not a fan of the grunge, just so you all know. Ozzy also being honored at the 2024 Clio Awards. As a solo artist and the front man for Black Sabbath, Osbourne's musical talent, creative output, and larger-than-life persona has attracted legions of fans and led to the sale of over 100 million records. His Ozfest tour has brought together a community of metal fans and launched the careers of many artists in the genre. And of course, there's the Osbournes, the show. So he's getting recognized. So that's kind of cool. Now, I do have some email that I want to get to. Marlon, Michael Schenker, his favorite guitarist of all time. I'm right there with you, Marlon. Right there with you. Schenker is definitely in my top 3. You know, on one day it might be Schenker. On another day it might be Gary Moore. It might be Alex Lifeson one day. I mean, he's right up there. I love Michael Schenker. All right, let me share this email with you. I'm going to try to rein it in just a little with this email, but Seth is the person sending. Seth Greeley is his name, sending this email in, and he's given me an opening here. Sorry, I'm verklempt. He says, "Dear Jeremy, love your podcast and your daily updates. I've heard you mention several times your disdain for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I share it. But what do you think would make it better?" I like this question. You know, I like this question because I'm guilty of this. I think we all do this. It's human nature. We complain and whine, but we don't really come up with solutions, right? Am I going to be part of the problem or part of the solution? I want to be part of the solution. So, Seth, thank you for asking. Here are my thoughts. How do you make the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame better? Well, it's easy. If you're going to call it the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, think of the word Rock and Roll Fame. Rock and Roll Fame. Okay. So here's what happens. We've got bands or artists that aren't rock and roll that are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So there's a few things you can do. You've either got to be a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. What does fame mean? Okay. Fame means famous. What does famous mean? Famous means that you're popular. Sorry, that's what fame means. You're popular. Lots of people know who you are. Okay. You have a big fan base. So when Tom Waits and Nina Simone are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, that's a problem. This is not saying that Tom Waits and Nina Simone aren't talented, aren't creative. They ain't rock and roll. They ain't fame. Other than that, they're perfect. Okay, if it's not rock and roll, if they're not famous, they shouldn't be in there. The flip side is also true. If they are rock and roll and they are famous, they should be in there. It ain't hard. So while Tom Waits and Nina Simone are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and Missy Elliott, Foreigner isn't. Styx isn't. Kansas isn't. Boston isn't. Bad Company isn't. Is Iron Maiden in there yet? I don't remember. I don't even pay attention anymore because it's so stupid. Now, here's another thing that you could do. Quit calling it the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Quit calling it the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Call it the Music Hall of Fame. Whatever. But you still got to make sure they're famous, in my mind. So, it's a private institution. They can do whatever they want, but I can tell them how stupid they are. Okay. They set themselves up for this by just being stupid. Okay. There are so many deserving bands that should be in there and so many bands that are in there that shouldn't be in there. And a lot of times it's timing, right? It's not so. Here's my latest punching bag. And I don't hate these guys, but they're emblematic of the problem. Green Day. Okay. Green Day is rock. Okay. They're famous. Yeah. I don't have a problem with them being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I do have a problem with them being in before many of the bands I've already mentioned. That's problematic to me. Okay. And so much of what happens in the Rock Hall, it's politics, right? It's all about politics, who you know, who you schmooze, whatever. I mean, it's a joke. The nomination process, the way they treat artists, it's sad. And so, yeah, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is a steaming pile of poop. But those are some of the things you could do to fix it, right? A, make sure artists that go in are rock and roll. And there's a whole nother debate there. Is rap rock and roll? I mean, some people might make the case that it is. I don't know. So some of it is definitions, and I get that. You can have competing opinions on what defines rock and roll. So maybe the easiest fix is you just call it the Music Hall of Fame. I mean, Dolly Parton went in. I love Dolly Parton, but she should be nowhere near the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Neither should Willie Nelson. Shouldn't be anywhere near. And yet they're there. So the easiest fix is let's just call it the Music Hall of Fame and then I'll quit whining, right? But if you're going to call it the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and continue to do stupid things, then yeah, people are going to bash you for it because it's dumb. Seth, you asked for it, man. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the big waste of time that is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And on that happy note, all right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for your support. Thank you for following us on X and YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. As always, you can email me, classicguitarrock@mail.com. I would love to hear from you. We'll do it all again tomorrow. Live long and prosper. Take care.